Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about my ISP, which is Virgin Media Broadband, and I'm going to break this video down into parts. And the first part I'm going to talk about the actual issues and why it's caused, and as well as give a little bit of backstory. I've been with Virgin for almost 12 months now. My contract runs out next month on the 9th of September. The entire time that I've been with Virgin, I've had really bad internet issues. My speed has been perfectly fine on all the speed tests. My ping hasn't increased much. Sometimes it did at the beginning, but then it went away. Pretty much everything was perfectly fine. But when I would play games, I would lag heavily. When I would stream. So after running a bunch of tests, I couldn't figure out what the problem is. And I phoned Virgin, and for months and months they told me that there was no problem, that they would test the line. They ran me around in circles, right? Recently I found out that it was a latency issue. So I went over to thinkbroadband.com. I'll put the link in the video description, and if you go onto there you can set up something called a broadband monitor. And what that does, instead of a speed test, it measures your broadband over a period of time. Right, so the graph is 24 hours. So I've got a few graphs I can show you. This is what my latency looks like. See, this is a problem. You see how it's spiky? It's not meant to be that ridiculous. The reason why it's like this is because of Intel, actually. So Virgin Media, they get their SuperHub 3 manufactured by a company called Aris. I think it's Aris. Yes, Aris, right? And Aris, they bought Intel Puma 6 chips instead of Broadcom chips for their router. And this chip is terrible. And not only is it terrible, it's practically broken. Virgin Media have this chip in every single SuperHub 3 that they have. Every single one is made exactly the same. They all use this chip. So the problem is that this chip hasn't been tested properly, and it essentially cannot handle the stress of just standard management, and it just gives you packet loss under load and limits your bandwidth and does terrible things to your latency. It's just a terrible chip, right? And for those of you that don't know, latency is how long each network operation takes to accomplish, and jitter is how much the latency jumps around. So you want your latency to be as low as possible, and you want your jitter to be as low as possible. So Virgin have known about this issue for a very, very long time, and there's no fix for this, no obvious fix. They could release firmware updates, but they've already released 2, and they haven't done much. The first firmware update, most people think that was just to hide the fact that there was something wrong with your network, because all that did was stop your ping from noticing it, stop your ping from showing the latency and jitter spikes, and that doesn't help anyone at all. On TCP and UDP it still happens. There's even news articles like the Register. Like if you look here, it says that it hasn't been fixed 6 months on, and this was written 21st of July 2017. 6 months is a very long time. If you go over to their forums have like almost 140 pages of people complaining, and all Virgin have said is, we're waiting for the firmware. It's pretty deceitful and ridiculous. Anyway, is there a fix? Well, basically the only thing you could possibly do is work around it. So if you're outside of the EU and the UK, and you're in the US for example, and you have a router that has this Intel Puma 6 chipset in it, what you could do is you could get rid of the router and buy another router with the Broadcom chip. That's it. That's all you can do, really. I'm pretty sure you might be able to join a lawsuit. There's some sort of joint lawsuit in America going on. If you live in America, you could possibly join that lawsuit against, I think it's against Intel for supplying the chip. But anyway, if you're not in America and you live in the UK or EU, what you could do instead is, if your ISP allows it, you could do the same thing that you could do in America, which is buy a router that has a Broadcom chip. If your ISP doesn't allow it, like Virgin doesn't, then you can't do that, because Virgin only allow their routers on their network, and if you were to buy another router, you could only use it as a wireless router, not as a modem. But the problem is the modem portion of things. What you could do as a solution, on the other hand, another workaround, it would be if you were to purchase a SuperHub 2. That's the previous iteration of a SuperHub 3. Now Virgin don't have any of those in stock. You'd have to get one from eBay or something. And if you were to use that instead of your SuperHub 3, it should fix the problem, because it doesn't have the stupid Intel chip in it. I implore anyone that is a Virgin Broadband customer to strongly consider signing up with another ISP as soon as their contract expires. Literally any ISP. Virgin are a terrible, deceitful company who will lie to you for months on end just to keep your money. They'll give you no compensation, and they won't even tell you the truth behind matters when you call them up on it. They claim that you aren't due any compensation because they've fulfilled their obligation of supplying broadband, and it's not your fault, it's not their fault that you can't use it. All of their words are a pile of shit. Don't give your money to people like this. Go to any ISP that treats you like a human being and sign up to there.